Get this done by working together as a team.
Jeez, bub. Keep buzzing in my ear.
Hello everyone, thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books, I love talking about them, I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that'll have plot synopsis and character bios for this issue. We're looking at Uncanny X-Men Annual number 9 from 1985, and it's a pretty busy corner box here with both the New Mutants and the X-Men here. This is a continuation of yesterday's video, the New Mutants special number 1, and we have the Saga of Storm, Goddess of Thunder, and we have an homage cover here to Journey into Mystery 83, Thor's first appearance, in which she is holding the hammer similar to the way Thor did it. And the neat thing is the inker of this cover is Walt Simonson, who was the writer artist of Thor during this time. Actually, he had stopped being the artist. Sal Buscema, I believe, was the penciler by this time, but he was still writing Thor during this time. And we have both the X-Men and the New Mutants on the cover here. So here we go, the Uncanny X-Men, and we have our cast of characters. We got Phoenix, Cyclops, Storm, Colossus, Wolverine, Nightcrawler, Shadowcat, and Rogue, beautifully drawn by Arthur Adams. This is probably within a year that classic X-Men launch, and he will be doing both the covers and the frontispiece. We have our title, There's No Place Like Home, and then we have our credits. Chris Claremont is the writer. Tom Mazukowski is lettering the whole thing. Arthur Adams is the penciler. However, there are 3 inkers in this. We have Al Gordon, Mike Mignola from Hellboy, and our Adams also does his own inking here. We have a different colorist. Normally we have Glynis Wein or Glynis Oliver. And then here we have Petra Scotise. And then, of course, same editorial team of Anna Senti with Jim Shooter. And then we've got the New Mutants here. We've got Warlock, which Arthur Adams does a remarkable job drawing him. We've got Mirage, Karma, Magic, Wolfsbane, Magma, Cypher, Cannonball, and of course, Sunspot. So, all right, here we go. So we start out at the mansion here, Professor Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, with a big scream. The scream, of course, wakes up the X-Men. Colossus even believes that they're under attack. Wolverine comes out, claws sheathed, and Nightcrawler teleports Rachel, and they go into Kitty's room, and Kitty's the one that is having what appears to be a nightmare of some kind. And wow, look at this drawing. Look at this detail that is being here. Nice work by Arthur Adams here. So Rachel is going to grab a hold of Kitty here, and they're going to she's going to display here what she is seeing, what the type of vision that she is receiving. Real quick again, Arthur Adams drawing. I made mention of this in the New Mutants special, but Arthur Adams ushers in the next era of comic books with the likes of Jim Lee and Todd McFarlane, Mark Silvestri, even Rob Liefeld, and oh my goodness, creator of Savage Dragon, whose name escapes me now, Eric Larson. So you can definitely see all the ticks, all that stuff here. So She shows them a vision of basically the stuff that has happened here. And here we have Ileana under the Dark Child persona that was released by the Enchantress. But check this out here. I hope you can really, the coloring doesn't do it justice. But you can see the New Mutants sort of trapped here. You see Cannonball, and I think this is Karma, and Sunspot. Rain is here. Cypher with Warlock. Okay, that wasn't. Oh, this would have been Mirage, and then Karma would be here. So Arthur Adams putting stuff on paper, that is just something that you just didn't see, even in the mid 80s prior to Arthur Adams. I think Paul Smith, and I have a playlist, but feel free to check it out. I got New Mutants playlist, X-Men playlist, and Next Universe playlist where I put everything in there. Paul Smith, I think, was really, really, really good, and I really wish he would have been able to stay. John Romita Jr. is fine, but I thought Paul Smith's work was really pretty, and I think that Arthur Adams takes that and ramps it up even more here. So we've got Loki, who is our villain from the previous New Mutants special. We've got the Enchantress, and we have the Storm as Thor. Very beautiful. The way the cape is rendered, the way this whole panel is rendered, very nice. Arthur Adams needed to have lead time because Arthur Adams is one of those people that unfortunately has a problem with deadlines, which is why we don't see more work from him. So Cyclops is trying to make sense. This is Madeline Pryor over here, and they're seeing Storm versus Ileana here, and Rogue says, "I thought magic couldn't work her sorcery on Earth," and then Cyclops is like, "I thought Storm lost her power, or what the hell is going on here?" So they need to find out what is going on. About an hour later, Nightcrawler teleports back and says Storm and the New Mutants were vacationing in the Greek Isle of Curico, and a freak gale has evidently cut off all contact to the island. No phone, no radio, and neither boats nor planes can get near the place. That is a heck of a storm. And then Colossus is like, coincidence, and Wolverine's a little skeptical about it. So now, Maddie is consoling. By the way, Madeline is pregnant here with Cable. Is consoling Kitty Pryde. And real quick on Rogue, she does her whole how her powers work, because this is the Jim Shooter era, and this could be somebody's first. So she makes mention that Storm reminded her of Thor, the way she was wielding that hammer. Wolverine automatically suspects Loki and says, "Remember what Loki said when we beat him last winter? He pays his debts. Only a matter of time before he settled the score. I guess he just made his move." Maddie says, "Loki swore never to do us harm." And of course, Kitty says he's the trickster, Norse god of mischief. If anyone can find a loophole, it is him. Rachel agrees and says that this came from Asgard. Wolverine now sort of agrees that it's probably him, and he figures that Slime Bucket would try to hurt us through the New Mutants. They're just kids, no match for him. And Cyclops says Xavier's school looks after its own. If the New Mutants are in danger, it's the X-Men's job to go to the rescue. So Nightcrawler teleports and says Thor's not on Earth. He's probably in Asgard. So if they need his help, they'll have to ask for it when they get there. And Rogue is like, we can do this on our own here. And so Scott says to Madeline that Xavier's in England to tell him where they've gone. He's sorry that he's gonna miss the baby, and Maddie's like, I understand those kids are counting on you, and everything will be all right. And how does he know how to get to Asgard? And of course, he uses the lightning bolts that were given to him by Archon the Imperium. I think in Uncanny X-Men Annual 6, could be 5. So he thinks that the right combination will get him, and Rogue's like, what about the wrong? Where will that take us? And so of course a big passionate kiss here. Don't let Rogue rattle you, hun. We'll be fine. And home with the kids safe and sound before you know it. So all that while he's smooching. And so they're waiting on Rachel when she walks in, and everyone is like, what the heck? And you can see a gasp from Colossus here. They're all shocked by what they see, which is Rachel wearing the Phoenix costume. And of course, she's like, hey, what gives? You look like you've seen a ghost. I got tired of running around in dance skins. I figured if I'm part of a team, I ought to have a costume. And Cyclops is like, but why? Why that costume, that design? And she's like, why not? And of course, he recognizes the Phoenix, which is the what Jean Grey wore. And she says that she's keeping the name and the outfit. She's sorry that it upset him. She says, but it's also none of your concern. You're married. Remember, you may be leading this mission, but you're retired from the X-Men. And Maddie's like, she's right, Scott, isn't she? And he puts on the mask. Sure. So, and then he asks, Kitty asks Maddie if she could watch Loki and promises he won't get into trouble here. So, and we got a couple of thoughts here. Wolverine's like, this caper's off to a rocky start. I got a nasty feeling it's going to get worse. And Shadowcat's like, Ray, how could you be so dumb? You know Jean was Cyclops' first love. In your timeline, they were your parents, but in this one, she died. Scott's married. They're going to have a baby. Are you deliberately trying to hurt him? She asked. Now, real quick, remember the other panels were super detailed? You can see here that Arthur Adams, I don't know whether he drew these out of order, perhaps, but he does not quite have that oomph that those other pages have. The details are just not there. This panel looks very, very simple. So they leave here, and Maddie's like, all of a sudden am I afraid I'll never see him again, and we'll never be happy together ever again. True words were never spoken, but not because of this issue. So, all right. The next 3 pages, I'm going to be very brief here on these pages. So these, you see we're back at the mansion here with the New Mutants and stuff, but you see the coloring has changed. This is a vision from, if you remember, Magma is now a fairy. And so she was converted into a fairy in New Mutants special here. So we're seeing a vision here. It doesn't really matter because, again, it's not it's a vision here, and you can see here that things are starting to turn. And so here we see Sam and Magma, but then she comes to, and of course they've been in Asgard for a while, so you can see his hair has sort of grown a little bit, and this is what Magma now looks like here. So Cannonball says, you were dreaming, Magma, but you're okay now. You're awake. Back to reality. And real quick, look at this panel and compare it to, or not compare it, but look at this panel. Very McFarlane-esque stuff coming here. This just wasn't stuff that was happening. Arthur Adams is definitely someone that the Future Image founders looked at and said, I want to do this. So, all right. So we pick up now in the forge here in the realm of the dwarves, and Atri is creating a new hammer. Now, what Uru is, it's a made up metal. It's a metal from Asgard. And Magma is the one that's actually heating up. She's creating the fires, and she feels torn because she's now fairy, and she's part fairy, part human, belonging to neither Asgard nor Earth. So she doesn't know what to do. Here, Atri says, Cannonball, take her up so that she can shoot, throw her magma down before the metal cools. And so Cannonball does just that. And so Eitri asks Amara to take possession of the hammer to deliver it to Loki. She says, I can't. The substance is deadly because she's part fairy because it has iron in it. But he says that a stony casement was placed in it and that it needs to be done because it's her power. It needs to keep the mold liquid hot until they deliver it to Loki in Asgard. And Eitri says, then and only then will you guys have a chance of freeing Storm, meaning when they go to Asgard, because there'll be other people there. Sam appreciates the help, and he says, you have shed blood on their behalf, and the debt must be repaid. Moreover, by confronting the trickster in Asgard, all the gods can bear witness to Loki's perfidy. So Atri and Sam says they'll miss each other, and he is going to give them some parting gifts. So he gets him this armor and the sword, and says, "Bring honor and glory to thy name. Make me proud, son of my heart." And Sam says, "I'll try, sir. I'll do my best." So now the X-Men show up. Some ride, some lightning. And so Wolverine smells something, nearby troops, hunters, and blood. And they see a wolf. They think it could be rain. You see here, this wolf is being hunted here. And Wolverine is not happy about that. He's like, there's no way I'm leaving any animal to be butchered, especially by the likes of them. And Cyclops says, where the heck are you going? And tells them that they need to stay together. They need people for to question, not a body count. So here they come. And so you see the X-Men jump in here. Turns out that this is the prince from New Mutants Special number 1. And then suddenly Hela shows up. She was going to claim him into as one of hers. Now, one of the things here is a little different. The way she's drawn, it's hardly any ink per se. It's a lot of dashes the entire way. So that is interesting. You don't see that very often. So, and Hela ends up taking the trolls, and she welcomes them and then recognizes Rachel here. We're going to just read this bit here. I bid thee welcome to the Golden Realm, Paladins, especially thee, Starsoul, Firehair. Thy pedigree is written on thy face. Thou art truly much like that thy dam, which is like for dame. And Rachel is like, you knew my mom? And she says, yeah, verily, we were the bitterest of foes, yet in her time she sent more souls unto me than any who professed to serve my cause. Of course, Rachel doesn't like that and says that wasn't her fault. And Hela says, the why matters not, only the deed itself. Glad I am to know thee, child of light and darkness. We continue with that the lines. And she says, mayest thou be all thy mother was, and more. So she's basically hoping Rachel turns in crazy the way Phoenix did. So, all right. So now we have Storm, and yes, it's a Storm, as she was transformed into a Falcon in the previous issue of New Mutants by Loki. and she is flying. But there's another bird. That's Warlock, who's keeping an eye on her. And the New Mutants are watching here, and they're trying. It says here, they're trying to scout the city and try to pinpoint Ororo's whereabouts, not play follow the leader with that Falcon, who they don't realize is Storm. And Doug is like, I wish I should be with him, Danny, to keep him out of trouble, not stuck in the Enchantress Castle translating her dumb magical books. If you remember in the previous issue, um, the Enchantress was sent to Limbo, and Sim is watching her. So, Ileana is a bit, it's a little bit dark. She's like, hey, QC, let's be honest. You want to be with Locke because on your own you're as helpless as a baby. And Danny says, Ileana, there was no call for that crack. It's not Doug's fault. His power is mental instead of physical like ours. And you can see Ileana and her face here. Loki's the top sorcerer in Asgard. These grimoires may contain the only means of defeating him and rescuing Storm. I can't read them. Doug can. He can play hero when he's done. So she is, she's had enough with him here. So now we've got Loki. He says, enjoy the flight, my pretty. I can see thou didst. Oh, sorry. Thou didst. Oh my gosh. Okay. So he's got a bow and arrow here. And Loki arming the quiver here. But thou hast evidently attracted a companion. I thought I knew every bird in Asgard, but I've never or near, I don't know, beheld its like. Its presence near my palace could be a coincidence. And he shoots at it. Squee! But why take chances? And of course, the transmission goes black, and Cypher yells that he's been shot. Danny's gonna go with him on Brightwing. Doug says he's coming with her. Ileana says, Cypher, you can't. And he says, try to stop me, Magic. I will lock my life. That's more important than anything. And as she's leaving, Danny yells a command, says, Rain, shift to your wolf's form so we can use our special mind link to keep in touch. And she says, Danny, take care. And look how annoyed, this is beautiful art. Look how annoyed Ileana looks here. Idiots! Don't they realize I'm the only one who matters? I've work to do, Karma. Stay out of my way, she says. And Karma says, oui, Ileana, as you wish. And poor Rain, she whines in here. And Karma cuddles next to Rain here, and you can see her holding her. And her thought says, she has changed, my petite. You sense it too. The more Ileana practices the Enchantress spells, the more like her she becomes. Even if we could return to Earth, I'm no longer certain she wishes to. So few of us want to. And so Loki comes with Falcon Storm, and he says, did you enjoy my gift, Ororo? Freya's cloak of golden feathers, possessing the power to transform his wearer into a falcon. With its storm, you can fly until such time as a better, more suitable gift will enable thee to once more soar unaided as a goddess would or should. And Storm says, Loki, it was wonderful. I felt as one reborn. My world was new and filled with infinite beauty. You are happy then, Wind Rider? And Storm says yes. And Asgard, it is a land thou couldst come to care for and call thy home. And so, real quick before we move on to the next panel, I love this. It really shows the scope of how big this room is. Most people would just have the heads here or something. Arthur Adams showing as much of the room and them at the very bottom here on this nice vertical panel, probably about half or 3/4 of the page. So very nice indeed. Not a lot of artists would have done that. And Storm says, I already love it, as I do no other. What of thy companions, the X-Men? Dost thou not miss them? And Storm says, I always shall, but my time on Earth is done. They have no real need for me. But from all you have said, there is a great need here. And Loki, I wish to help with all my heart and soul. And Loki says, Thy will be done, my lady. And of course, we get with his thoughts here and says, Ha! My plan proceeds apace. Uh, I mix a touch of magic and the slightest of spells with Storm's own yearnings to bend her completely and on her own free choice to my purpose. With my help, Ororo, thou shalt succeed my half-brother Thor as goddess of thunder, and then with thine aid shall Loki at last become ruler of Asgard. So, all right. So the X-Men set up a campfire here, and again, not very detailed anymore. Arthur Adams putting effort where he wants to, where he thinks it'll create the more payoff, and not as much in others. So they fixed the wolf as much as they could, and Ray reads his mind. He's unconscious, and he's been following the trail of Rain. So, and Cyclops says, talk about star-crossed romance. At least this confirms Kitty's dream. We're on the right track. I don't like doing it, but I can see no alternatives. We have to split up. Half the team stays with the Wolf Prince till he's fit to travel, while Wolverine, Shadowcat, and Phoenix basically reconnaissance. If we can contact Thor, I'm certain he'll stand by us. And Wolverine says, big if, psych. And Cyclops says, no harm in trying. Wow, the home of the Norse gods. Wow, says Kitty Pryde. And Wolverine, I love this, kind of keeping it in the same perspective here. It's just a caper cat. Same risks, same stakes as always. And she says, I do know, Logan, the way Hela spoke to Ray, and Ray hasn't smiled once since then here. And then we get a little bit of exposition of her thoughts about Ray not telling Cyclops that she's the daughter, and then Cyclops overhearing Hela about Ray, but then not saying anything. So Rogue comes with Rachel, and she says, I scrounged up some disguises. Love this town. It's got my kind of dress code. See y'all later. Don't forget to write as she leaves. And look at the way everybody's skimpy. And Kitty says, where did Rogue get these outfits? And Wolverine says, I don't want to know, and I don't want any cute remarks, Pride. So, at the bottom, she says here, Wolverine, I keep seeing Hela in my mind's eye and wonder if when we'll meet again. And Wolverine says, sooner or later, darling, everybody does. And Kitty's like, doesn't that scare you? Never the going, only how I go. I guess I've got too much imagination. I can't stop thinking about it. I'm afraid, Logan. No matter how hard I try not to be, I'm always afraid. I don't want to die. And she says, pretty silly, huh? Some attitude for a semi-samurai superhero. And Wolverine says, no law against even the bravest hero being human. Come on, let's go to work. As man, they are really oh my gosh, that is a funny. So Sunspot is with the ladies who are all in love with him. Suddenly this one gasps, and they see Danny with Cypher coming in, and they're like, save us, protect us, don't let her take us. And he's like, why are they scared? And this guy makes a move on her. He's drunk here, and Danny's like, give me a break. And this guy here is like, art thou mad, adult, to approach one of the riders? Let her have the boy, and mayhap thou will see the morrow sunrise. And Danny's like, what the heck? And Cypher thinks she's using her power, and she's like, I haven't done anything. So they're looking for Warlock, and Doug senses him, and they find him. He's still alive. And they want to get him. You see that arrow here. They want to get him back to the Enchantress's home to fix him up, and all of a sudden, Warlock looks at Danny and sees her as this ominous thing here, and you can see scream, maker smasher, unfriend, termination, life, I don't know, fear, flee, danger, and shoots at them. And Sunspot's like, what the heck? He's gone crazy. The wound must have driven him insane as he keeps shooting. He grabs Doug, and Danny says, he's rabbiting. And Doug's like, you don't need put me down. And so he's like, he's too weak, too badly hurt. He can't maintain such a pace for long. He won't get far. We'll find him. And Sunspot's like, then what? He was glad to see us until he got a good look at you, Danny. That's what spooked him. And then these guys come out and says, you children, explain yourselves. We're minding our own business. I suggest you do the same. And of course, they see her and they're like, what the heck? And Roberto's like, my God, they're all afraid of her. What did they and Warlock behold in Daniel that I cannot? So he's wondering what's up, because everyone is looking at her in fear. So the young prince has led them here to the Enchantress's domain here. Love this panel here. And she can get their sense here. So he takes off, and the X-Men take up after him. And look at the dogs, and Rain is in heat. And they see Karma, and she's like, I'm alive and well and overjoyed to see you. And Rain feels embarrassed about what she does. She's like, when I saw the person, I couldn't help myself. I became a wolf. I acted like an animal, but I'm not. I'm a girl. I'm a human being, aren't I? And so they're now in the Citadel here. And Cyclops says, when our teams in the city report in, we'll have to join forces. I think, though, Karma, you worry too much about my little sister. And Karma says, say that, Colossus, when you have seen her for yourself. This is her inner sanctum. So, all right. And they walk in, and here, this is a nice panel here, and a lot of nice detail here being shown that it is full of stuff here. So that's nice. And Peter and the wolves, how appropriate, says Elena. Karma, I thought I told you I wanted to be left alone. So Colossus says, Ilyana. And then his thought says, she sounds so much like herself, but there is an aura about her that terrifies me. It must be my imagination. And yet, Ilyana says, most of the ex-babies ran off a while ago and left me pretty much on my own. Silly, mewling brats. So who needs them, she says, as Colossus kind of looks. And so she's doing her magic. And so she's explaining, you arrived at the right moment. I'm about to cast a location spell I found to zero in on Ododo. We can nab her and be gone before Loki suspects. And Cyclops says, Elena, wait, you can't take the chance, but we see Loki here as he comes in. Silly geese, to think the Enchantress wards would hide thee from mine eldritch sight. And so he turns the tables on them, and he says, I should have known if a thing needs doing well, 'tis best to do by one's self. So he has nabbed everybody here. Well, almost everybody. And so we see kind of a ruined city. It looks like this would have been after the Surtur fight. So maybe I am also doing Thor, and I'm way ahead in Thor. So perhaps Walt Simonson is still doing Thor here. Anyway, Doug says, I looked all over, Locke, but there is nothing but ruins, nothing alive, nothing organic that you can use for food. No electricity either. I'd kill for a battery. And he asks, why'd you run? And he's like, he thought that the Valkyries came for him because he's a coward. And Doug thinks he's just delirious. And then he comes up with an idea. Is there a way you can absorb the life energy you need from me? I mean, without transmuting me into a techno-organic being to tide you over until we find something better? And Warlock says, you would do that for me? He says, of course, buddy. Besides, you saved my life. Remember, this is my chance to pay you back. And then he's like, it won't hurt, will it? And so they sort of merge. It's the beginning of Douglock. And then he says, wow. And so we're actually about halfway through. This is another long one. So there's 3 long issues coming back to back. The New Mutant Special one, Uncanny X-Men Annual 9, which is this one. But then we also have another long one in Uncanny X-Men 200. So a lot of long issues coming up, and I can't wait to sort of get back on a normal rotation because these X-Men have been pretty long recently with all the stuff. So, all right. So in Asgard, I don't know which one here. It's Rachel here. Thor isn't home. My side scan reveals that he and Balder the Brave have led the injured warriors of Valhalla into hell to free innocent souls that Hela has imprisoned there. Okay, so this is toward the end of Walter Simonson's run then on Thor as penciler before Sal Buscema takes over. And Kitty says, good for them. And Rachel says, but bad for us. There's no one left in authority for us to turn to. And Wolverine, and I love these black eyes here. They're pretty cool. Them's the break, Red. Come on, ladies, let's roll. We got company, some familiar scents. And, of course, Sam and Magma are coming through here. And she says, I want to go home. She feels like, now that the Dark Elves turned her into a fairy, that is where she is. And she doesn't look like she'll get to be human ever again. And as Sam and Amara goes through, here's Wolverine, Phoenix, and Kitty Pryde, which of course Sam recognizes them. So in Loki's home here, the X-Men of course are in prison. He's got Cyclops optic eyes in there, and he goes, now that you are all quite comfortable, I will leave you to bask in the glow of the witch's child's soul. It should not be long before such pure and fundamental evil begins to have an effect, corrupting you, recasting you irrevocably in her and, of course, my image. So, and Cyclops says, so much for your word, Loki, never to do the X-Men harm. And Loki says, my dear Cyclops, I did nothing. I am being true to my absolute letter of my oath. The power responsible for this outrage is one of your own. That her actions rebound to my benefit is but the merest coincidence. However, it seems a shame to have your compeers are not present to share your fate. Methinks I shall send my rock trolls to invite them to join us. So he's out to hunt for those that are not there yet. Very cool panel. It gets lost in the coloring, but very cool. And Loki puts on this collar, and we see the fingernails, which is an error since he's wearing gloves, but he puts this collars which transforms them into these feral werewolf creatures here. And the slavery enchantment will remain in force so long as they wear the collars. No mortal power or agency can remove them. And you see Nightcrawler struggling. It says, you've made a fatal mistake, evil one. Chains cannot bind a teleporter. So he teleports. He grabs Cyclops with his tail and then kisses Rogue. And Loki's like, Nightcrawler, he's escaping. He says, not quite. This is just absolutely wonderful. The panel a little bit bigger here. The other one going right through it. Oh my God, Todd McFarlane had to be salivating when he sees this. The arm coming through. And so Nightcrawler says, "You gave me this chance, Elf. I won't fail you." And so Rogue now has both Nightcrawler and Cyclops powers. So Rogue is gonna fight Loki here, and so she's beating the snot out of him. When suddenly, "What are you doing, villain? Let him be!" And turns around and says, "That voice," and it's Storm. And she says, "No, Rogue is my friend. Loki's my friend. Friends do not harm friends." And look at how she sees it. "Deceiver, you wear a friend's form, but in truth you are a creature of evil." So, too true, Wind Raider. "And your distraction hath given me the opportunity to ensure she causes no more mischief." What, my lord? Was this friend? Why did it attack you? And Loki says, "Regrettably, there are those who will do anything to prevent the granting of my gift to thee, but pay them no mind. Their best efforts shall come to naught." So now Mirage and Sunspot are searching for Doug and Warlock when Rachel catches their thoughts and tells them to join them. So they come through and they're happy to see them. And then he can see a spirit face looming over Wolverine, and she's wondering what the heck is going on here. She's like, nobody else can see it, just me. Is something awful going to happen? Can I stop it? Am I part of it? And suddenly the ground opens up here, and Wolverine's like, "What the flamin'?" And in comes these creatures, and then of course you see Wolfsbane and whatever the name of the other guy was. And so back off, kids, this is my kind of fracas, as Wolverine takes us. And look at this, look at all the characterizations, great detail. I wish the coloring of that time was a little bit like now, because when you see this much detail, it would be nice to be able to showcase it. So they use a machine here, and they grab magma here, and Wolverine says, "Hang on," and then all of a sudden sees one of these creatures, and he recognizes the scent. Can't believe it. And then he's bitten by this lizard thing here, and he says, "The dragon's teeth is poison, burning up blood, because boiling acids. Don't think my mutant factor can cope." And then Sam here, the wolf is trying to eat him or bite him, but it doesn't work because the mail shirt saved him, and he's gonna go and kill it, but it hits the neck thing, and of course it shows now that it was Rain, and he feels bad that he almost killed her. And then just after that, check this out, as Warlock comes in as the Enterprise. That is pretty freaking cool here. Great panel. It's actually broken into a few panels. This is just absolutely glorious. This is so good. Kudos to Arthur Adams. There's just not enough Arthur Adams in our lives. And so the captors flee, and they're like, should we go after him? They took magma, and Wolverine says that's what they want, to try to tackle them on their own turf. And Kitty says Wolverine's right, and then we always get some exposition. But is he okay? His voice sounds so rough. Was he wounded? No signs of any injuries. His healing factor must be handling things just fine. Oh, Chris Claremont, I love thee. So And so Kitty kind of assumes command here. From what Rain says, we're the only ones left. Loki evidently has called some big meeting tonight for whatever he's planned for Ororo. That looks like where it's going to happen. We'll have to split up again. Wolverine, you take Ray, Berto, Doug, Danny, and Warlock to the ceremony, while Rain, Sam, and I try to free Loki's prisoners. And Wolfsbane's like, no, please, Kitty, not there. I cannot. He'll capture me. And Kitty says, there's no alternative. Your wolfen tracking skills can lead us right to them and around any traps. I'll phase us into the place, and Sam can KO anyone or anything dumb enough to get on our way. I know you're scared, Rain. Me too. But you can't let that beat you. I guess this is the hardest part about being an X-Man or a New Mutant. We can't live normal lives. We can't run away from problems or threats or bad guys, no matter how terrible they are. We have special powers because we're special. Because of that, people depend on us. We can't fail them, Rain. We won't. So, Claremont loves the heroine. So, and so, Sunspot tells Rachel, no need to worry, we'll save the day. And Wolverine's about had it. He says, you think this is a game, boy? And he says, I know the risk. I laugh at the danger. And he says, do tell. At least here, if I give my life, it's for purpose. It'll have meaning. And it won't back home. And Sunspot says, we're hated there, Wolverine. Or hadn't you noticed? This is a theme from the previous issue. Oh, I see. Earth isn't good enough for you. Poor little muty fella don't get no respect. And Asgard's different. And Wolverine's sweating, by the way. So that poison is going through. And Sunspot says, here, they know how to treat heroes. Um, that what you're after, Bobby? The glory? No fun being a star if there's nobody to applaud. He says, you no right to do this. You're not my dad. He says, that's true. I'm a man doing my job, and you're a boy chasing a fool's dream. Storm isn't here because she wants it. She was kidnapped, same as you kids. She's no more belongs than you. The difference is you've got a choice. I don't know why I even bothered talking. I guess because I thought you were worth my effort. My mistake. It's your life, Sunspot. You're free to make any kind of mess of it if you want. It kind of pushes him aside. Ororo's who I care about and who I'm going to the wall for. And you can definitely see the sweats and a little bit on the inks here that are a little bit messy, which I believe is intentional because you don't see that everywhere. So I think this is intentional here. That lady asks if she's unwell. He's like, he's fine. And in his head, he's like, I gotta, do good for a little bit longer. And once the job's done, I can let go. And so, Cannonball and the rest have arrived at Loki's. And you can see Colossus is about to pound Kitty. And Cyclops hits him, lets him know that because he's her brother, he was more susceptible to the spell. But they let him know Shan freed them, and they believe that once Peter wakes up, he'll be okay. So now Thor. Loki brings forth Storm, and that just looks so cool. And notice the cape here with the McFarlaneisms here. Now, McFarlane, prior to this, was doing his capes already like this. So I think in this case, Arthur Adams took took that from Todd McFarlane because he was already doing the capes long before Arthur Adams when he was doing Infinity Inc. here. So Loki says, fellow Asgardians, I present a warrior made pure of soul, noble of heart, fitting heir to Thor's place should he choose to reside on Midgard amongst the mortal he dearly loves. Her name is Ororo, and I would have you welcome her as, and suddenly the cape kind of attacks him here, and it's Warlock, and he's grabbing Magma, and Wolverine yells out for name, and he's like, snap out of it, but he's hurting, and this guy's like, who are these upstarts? And Roberto decides, all right, I'm gonna join my friends, and turns into Sunspot, and off he goes. Loki brings forth the rock trolls to get him. This guy's like, how dare he summon these to this place? And Loki opens up the case, and again, not very detaily. So I wonder if these things were drawn out of sequence, or Adam's kind of drawing what he wanted to draw and allowing the other stuff not to here. So he says, reach into the fire and take up thy destiny. And Wolverine, of course, saying no. And then she grabs it, the big smile, the thunder and lightning, and look at this freaking badass. Jeez Louise, how absolutely gorgeous. This is so cool, so detailed. Wow. We'll look at it one more time just because I'm geeking out about this. So, as Storm holds her own hammer, very, very, very cool. So, and Loki's like, magnificent. Her hammer is bound to my powers by that spell that forged it, and Ororo to it by her life's blood. None of the Golden Realm, not even Thor, can deny her place of honor. And he's like, and he says, Wolverine comes up and says, Ororo, you're being suckered. Beware, Wind Rider, another foe of thee and Asgard, his foul soul cloaked in thy friend's form. Then the hammer shall strip away his deception and reveal his true nature for all to see as she fires on Wolverine. And this is so well drawn. This is so cool. Again, I'm having a geek out moment, but that's okay. Wolverine is standing through, and he's like, take your best shot, darling. I ain't about to quit. And then he's like, it cannot be. How can any shadow spawn show such courage? But Loki's my friend. He would not lie. And Wolverine says, Storm, he's the god of lies. That's all he does. As Wolverine falls on her, this all black here, this, it's just perfect. Goodness gracious here. It's just a perfect composition here. And here comes Hela. And she's like, stand thou aside, goddess of storm, that Hela may execute her rightful charge and claim yon mortal hero's soul. And Storm says, no. And Hela says, thy protest is too little too late. Thine was the hand that struck him down. I do but finish what thou hast begun. And suddenly, behind her, leave him alone. And it's Danny with Brightwing. And she says, back away, lady. I won't warn you twice. And so she understands that vision meant Wolverine was dying. And what the heck gives? Where'd the power come from? I never could do anything like this. And of course, Hela's like, foolish child, thou art a Valkyrie, one of Odin's warrior maids, his choosers of the slain. Thou shouldst be standing to my side to aid me, not keeping me from my appointed task. And then she understands. Is that who my friend missed and her sister spared of my ancestors? Have mercy. And Danny says, is that who I am? what my stay in Asgard has made me, then Hela, I choose to slay you. And she says, presumptuous girls, let this mild chastisement teach thee and any others who seek to bar my way, as she hits them. And both her and Brightwing fall. And everyone kind of steps away here. And Storm says, what have I done? And Wolverine says, Ororo, whatever Loki offered, no matter how wonderful, wasn't for you, but for him. He's using you, darling. And Hela's like, give me what I require, and I shall leave thee in peace. And Storm says, Wolverine is not quite yet Queen of Hell, and you shall never have them. And look at her. Look at this. Just wow, wow, wow. Arthur Adams is great. I won't get tired of saying that. It's amazing here. I wish, again, there was more of him. While Storm has the breath and power to defy you, as she throws energy at her with her powers here. Ororo's everything she ever was and more, but even that may not be enough. And so both Phoenix and Cyclops begin to help here. So and then the Valkyries are going to join in the fight. So everyone goes through, and Hela is going to leave on her are going to leave, and she realizes that Thor is at her gate. So that's in Thor 361. So she needs to leave while she still has strength to do it. So very cool. All right, so Loki was hiding underneath the table. Glad that's over. If the Norns be kind, mayhap Hela and Thor will destroy each other in the realm below, leaving Asgard to Loki's. And Storm says, you lied to me. It is you, deceiver, who are truly the evil one. And of course, he holds the hammer because he's the one. Wherefore, woman, I promise to restore thy powers. That have I done, and given thee a place of glory amongst the gods. Didst think, Ororo, I could be harmed by the hammer I helped forge? My patience is at an end, and with it your pathetic lives. And Kitty stands up to him and says you, weasel face. There are maybe a score of X-Men and New Mutants loose in Asgard. We know the truth, and so do the Valkyries. Either you call it quits right now, you send us home with all curses lifted and no more vendetta, or we scatter. You can't catch us all. Sooner or later, somebody will reach Thor or Balder or Heimdall or Freya or the Warriors 3, and poof goes your precious ambitions to be big boss here, and maybe the whole lot more. And Wolverine's like, way to go, Cat. And Loki says, are you threatening me, youngling? And she says, you betcha. And so the Queen of the Norms watches, and she's impressed by Kitty Pryde's thing here. And of course she's like, I can't believe he thought I would allow him, that she thought I would allow him to be king of Asgard here. And I love the extra little detail here on the outside here. And she's like, I was the one who enabled the witch child Liliana to touch her soulmate's dreams. Mine own Eldritch might have enabled the X-Men to cross the cosmic gulf from Midgard. I'm not ready to openly confront thee, but more than willing to hazard these mortals as my cat's paws. This victory is Carnillus, and the fullness of time come the all things, the gathering of the immortals of a new liege shall be a man of my choosing. So back in Asgard here, the end that companions Shadowcat may depart in peace, but all of you must leave. Should one stay, all must remain. And he's like, Fiend, Rain is my heart, my life. Thou hast no right to take her from me. The choice is hers, and the cost. And look at poor Rain. Oh, Loki's so evil. I can't. Oh, Stanley, I love him, but I cannot stay, as she weeps, and these two young lovers. And so, in addition, Any power, gifts, enchantments you have gained here shall be stripped from you. Thy magic blade and armor, for example, cannonball, will become simple steel, and the spells learned from the enchantress Agrim or Ziliana shall be forgotten. In addition, thou will return her, I trust, lass, for thy sake unharmed from her imprisonment in limbo. And look at this here as he. She just looks so pissed. Thou, fair Magma, will regain thy stolen human seeming, though thou makes a most appealing daughter of the fairy. However, I'm not so ungracious as to condemn thee, Karma. To the gross form that was thine on Midgard, thou may retain thy beauty. So Karma gets to keep her looks. And so he says, Hold, deceiver, by Odin's law, horse and rider may not be separated once the bonding has been made. And Loki says, Nevertheless, Valkyrie, my will is adamant. Mist, it'll break my heart to lose Brightwing. I think I'd rather lose my soul, but I won't condemn my friends. Also, Earth's my home, much as I love it in Asgard. Happy as I was with you guys, where I belong. And he says, Then, spirit sister, take thy stallion with our blessing. A place will ever be set for thee at our table. So, and he looks at Storm and says, Amigarododo, thou will once more be merely human, without the power to fly, to wield lightning, to command the wind and storm. The X-Men and their world hold no place for thee. Let them go. Stay, Storm, be a goddess. Rule Asgard by my side, he says. But know that if that shouldst thou refuse me, we are quits. I shall cast thee from my heart, as I do thy comrades, from my realm never to return. And and Storm says, Sweet words, a tempting offer, O Lord of Lies. But Asgard is not your realm, Loki, as she cries, because she's giving this up. And I shall be no party, now or never to making it so. And black and white, just absolutely gorgeous, and throws the hammer at Loki's feet. And he's like, You refuse, you dare, so be it. Gather thy brood, woman, and get thee begone. And he thinks here, like, what a woman. I would almost be worth losing the throne to win her to my side. And so everybody says goodbye, and look at these young lovers here. And she's like, I don't even know what a Valkyrie is. So Loki casts his spell, and he says, the spell is cast. To thy mentor, Professor Xavier, I send thee. And so he's actually going to send them straight to the events happening on X-Men 200. So they're actually going to show up there. And my part of the bargain is fulfilled, Mist. And so she says, We too shall keep our word, Loki, and our silence. So far as Asgard is concerned, 'twas a misunderstanding, a good deed gone awry. No wickedness was intended and undone, but beware, should thou prove an oathbreaker, thou wilt answer to us. And so he's like, humph, and goes down, and you can see he's doing something perfect. And so much was gambled and much lost, but a great game continues. I endure, and tomorrow is another day. An immortal has nothing but time to plot, scheme, and try again. I shall yet have my way. In all things Asgard shall be mine, and who knows, perhaps a queen. Until then, fair Odo, this shall be a sweet something to remember thee by. So he created a little statue-esque of her here. There, I shrunk the page a little bit here so you could see the entire image. That is so cool here. So, Uncanny X-Men Annual number 9. Sorry about this video being a little bit too long here. By Chris Claremont and Arthur Adams. Like and subscribe. I do thank you so much for listening. Goodbye. Oh, I lied. One more thing here. This is how I actually discovered these stories here between X-Men Alpha Flight and the New Mutant Special and X-Men Annual 9. This was a trade that was released in the late 80s called the Asgardian Wars. And this cover here by Arthur Adams. And as I was closing, I said, "Oh, I wonder if people know." So if ever you get a chance, this is the largest image I could find of the original trade. There are other versions that have been recolored and a little bit bigger, but I wanted to show the original. And I had this book. I loved it. I read it so much. I just love it. So I figured I'd share it. So again, thanks for listening. Goodbye.